I'm going to bring out of recess this meeting of the Public Education Commission. We started our meeting yesterday in Las Cruces. So we're continuing today with our renewal hearings. I do want to note that our usual court reporter, excuse me, had an unexpected injury, which impacted her ability to do a transcript of these proceedings. We were only provided short notice that she would not be available for our meetings this week, and the court reporting service was unable to find a replacement. This Zoom meeting is being recorded, and written minutes complying with the minimum requirements under the Open Meetings Act will be provided, along with a link to the Zoom recording. We have discussed the issue with counsel for the school and have posted the process for obtaining transcripts if an appeal is anticipated. That process is posted with the meeting materials online. The school's counsel is also appearing virtually today. So if counsel needs to have a conversation with the school, we will stop the recording and allow the time for the phone conversation, and then we'll start the recording when that's done. So thank you once again. And I want to welcome again in person Commissioner Carrillo and Commissioner Armijo. So it's good to meet everyone. So thank you. Okay. So our first school up is Mission. Roll. Oh, I'm sorry, roll. Duh, we just talked about it.
All right, Commissioner Armijo?
Here.
Commissioner Burt is here. Commissioner Carrillo?
Here.
Commissioner Chavez is not present at this time. Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Gibson?
Here.
Commissioner Manus?
Here.
Commissioner Robbins is not present at this time. Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
And Commissioner Voigt?
Here.
All right, there is a quorum of 8.
Thank you very much. So the school first up is Mission Achievement and Success. So thank you once again for coming up, and thank you for all the time and effort that it obviously takes to do the application, even though fortunately with Expedited, there was minimal relief
Right.
to the application. So thank you. So the Public Education Department will go Charter School Division, and then you'll have your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Moss Charter. I hope it's okay. I will use that acronym. Good to see you here. I remember when you first applied for a charter application, and so welcome to the renewal hearing. I'm going to start out by providing a little bit of process, and then I will talk about the Charter Schools Division's recommendation for this school. So the process that the Charter Schools Division followed in making the recommendations regarding the 9 schools was as follows. Each charter school received Part A of the renewal application. Moss, in fact, had an expedited renewal, but was required, like all the other schools, to submit their application on October 1st. We reviewed all parts of the application, conducted a site visit to the school, and prepared a preliminary renewal analysis for the school. These were provided to the schools on November 12th. The schools were provided an opportunity to respond to the preliminary renewal analysis by November 25th. Moss did not provide a response that led to any sort of change in the preliminary analysis. Some schools that corrected factual information had a corrected preliminary analysis. All of the documents that are relevant for today are posted to the Public Education Commission's webpage, a link off of their webpage called the renewal application, or excuse me, the submitted applications archive. On December 1st, we sent the final renewal analysis and recommendation. Moss is in its 10th year of operation. This is its second term. This renewal would grant it a third term. The school is large, has many students and 2 campuses. The Yale campus, which opened in 2012, and the old Coors campus, which opened in 2018. Yale serves approximately 1,123 students in grades K through 12. Plus they have a pre-K student program with 39 students. The old Coors serves 893 students in grades K through 7, and they will continue to add a grade each year until it serves a full K through 12. Moss's mission is to prepare students to be successful in college and the competitive world by providing a rigorous college preparatory program in a safe and effective learning environment, seeking to instill in students a commitment to high academic achievement, continual goal setting, and the principles of personal success. During the first 2 years of this contract term, when outcome data was available, Moss received a school grade of A in 17-18 and was a spotlight school in 18-19. At the site visit, both classroom observation and interviews with staff, parents, students confirmed the school's consistent focus on academic achievement. With a longer school day and stricter rules than most schools, Moss provides a highly structured learning environment. Moss is fiscally sound with only 1 single audit during the entire contract term. The organizational performance framework, on the organizational performance framework, most of the ratings are meets or working to meets. There are no does not meets during the contract term. Based on its analysis, the Charter Schools Division recommends that the contract of Moss be renewed for a period of 5 years from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2027 without conditions. Okay, and excuse me, I think I said 1 audit. I meant to say 1 audit finding. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we continue, I just want to recognize and welcome our new Deputy Director. So Bridget, welcome. Okay. So the school has 15 minutes. Oh, okay. He is?
Is that?
Yeah.
You want me to take this? Hold it. All right, good morning. So my name's Joanne Mitchell. I'm the founder of MAS, and thank you. Nice to meet you all. I know many of you I have not presented before. So my intention this morning was to not go over like all the academic stuff and kind of where we are
I'm
academic.
sorry. If you're speaking and you want to take the mask off, it's fine.
Thank you. That helps immensely. Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, good. So my intention was not to necessarily take you through like academic performance and how we perform, because it's all in the report and I felt like it would be a little repetitive. So I just wanted to highlight a few things, like, you know, particularly obviously the big thing was in 2017-18, which was the first year of our second renewal, we replicated and opened a second campus at Old Coors. And really, you know, the purpose of that was really just being able to serve more kids and to continue to provide equity through education. Like at the core of who we are, and I know it's a little cliche because I think in education, you'd almost be wrong to say anything other than that, but truly at the core of who we are, that's what we believe. I don't know that the commission knows. I know I tell my own staff often, but there's very personal reason too for me. I'm a first generation high school graduate. I'm a first generation college graduate and grew up with a lot of, I guess, trauma and different factors in my life that I know that education is what saved me. And it's what prevented my mom from leaving an abusive relationship and things of that nature. So I want to put that out there as a very personal reason that the mission drives home to me. And we've worked really hard for 10 years of surrounding ourselves with people. And, you know, my team today that I brought up Sherry Hubbard is our CAO, our Chief Academic Officer, and she'll talk momentarily too. Well, she signed up for public comment, so she gets there, but she came from KIPP Charter School. So we did a good job of kind of like doing a national search to find like real talent, to be able to find folks who could help us really push our mission even further. Josh Harrelson is our district lead for math and science, and our math performance has been pretty stellar over all the years we've existed. And Josh started as a classroom teacher with us, has been with us the full 10 years, became a coach, and then rose to became an assistant principal and is at the district level. And our math performance right now, and if we get time and Josh gets to speak at public comment, we are part of the Achievement First Network, which is a high performing network of charters in the Northeast, mostly in the New York area. I think there's some in New Jersey. And we're part of their network for their curriculum parts for English and math. And Josh leads that. And we recently received some data that we outperformed the Achievement First Network in some of the areas of math, which is pretty incredible. But I really credit Josh and his leadership on that and stuff. And I point this out because I do think that there is a lot to be said about surrounding yourself with the right people to pursue the mission that we do. Alicia White started off as a classroom teacher with us, started her career at MAS, and is now district lead for early literacy, and had some of the highest test scores in the state of New Mexico in early literacy and I think it was first grade reading data as a teacher, and now as a district lead with us. And then Christy Barker was a teacher with us, and now is a coach, and then an assistant principal of our elementary. And so I just wanted to quickly introduce my team, but I think one of the things that we've worked really hard over the years is to make sure we surround ourselves with great leaders who help to coach great teachers. Some of the things that I think really make us different that maybe aren't capitalized completely in the report are some of the things we do. I know that Ms. Chavez mentioned about, the structure, like we have a real strong structure at our school. There's a book called Visible Learning by John Hattie that's absolutely boring to read, so I absolutely don't recommend reading it, but it's a absolutely phenomenal resource for educators. It is a synthesis of over 800 meta-analyses that looks at like what actually works in education. And if you looked at this and you went through what works, they talk about, you almost can do a study that shows everything works in education because you can find just a little positive correlation, right? And as long as you do, it's like, okay, it works. That's not really how it works. Like if you want to find things that have a strong enough effect size, and we've really built the school around what we know is absolutely solidly embedded in research. And so the professional development, huge. I mean, it's they look at 800 meta-analyses in this book and stuff, and like top 20, I think it's number 18 or 19 is professional development. Classroom management is like number 4. So there's real intention behind the stuff that we do in our school. And we really have built it solid on research because we absolutely believe that the narrative that exists about student performance and serving underserved communities, and it can't be done because of all the factors that exist, we just don't believe any of that. And I think that we've been able to prove over 10 years that it's hard, but it absolutely can be done. And so I think our data speaks for itself. I want to shift real quick and just talk just a touch about what we did during COVID. Yesterday was timely, and I think everybody knows this, but it was nice because yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, an article came out from a study out of Brown University, University of Nebraska, and MIT about what were the effects of in-person learning compared to online. I don't think it's a shock for anybody that there is solid evidence that the online learning was not effective for students, absolute solid evidence. But it's nice when you see continued research articles coming out, because I'm very proud of the fact that when schools were allowed to return in September of last year, we came back. 80% of our families wanted in-person instruction. And I know it's controversial. This is not even about bringing up a controversy. It's just about what did we do, and to kind of highlight a little bit of over the last 5 years, there's absolutely data, as you know, but the first 2 years, stronger data than the last couple of years, only because there is no data, right? It's all internal stuff. But I think what is a real testimony, I think, to what we've done over these years is we didn't take a break. We came back in person the moment we were allowed to, and it was challenging. There were huge challenges with that, but we had a large enough building because we were fortunate because we had a K-12 building, and since secondary wasn't allowed to come back, we brought 80% of our kids back and just spread them through the whole building. So we were fortunate that we had the physical capability to do that. But I think that the research clearly supports that was the better thing to do for kids academically. And we absolutely responded to the needs of our community and what they asked to have happen. I can tell you that our leaders and our teachers, it was challenging for everybody, whether you were an educator, it didn't matter the industry, but I can tell you our folks pivoted hard because when we saw things weren't working, like for example, online, what wasn't working, we immediately pivoted, and it would have been easier to just say, we'll wait to next semester. We'll wait to next school year. We didn't. Every time there were pivots, and it taxed our leaders. But I really have to point out that they pivoted with it. And I think where you're really going to see it, unfortunately, you won't see it today sitting in front of you for the renewal hearing, but I am telling you, when test scores come out in March, and I know it's not just about test scores, like to me, it really is important. It does show you and measure, like, how do we do? It's not the only thing. That's where you're going to see the results. I'm telling you in the spring, and I know it doesn't completely help for this morning, but I really feel like it's important to bring that up because the last couple of years, that's the reality that we've all lived in and stuff. And I wanted to highlight what we've done as an organization, the hard work that the kids have done, that the teachers have done, that the coaches have done, and the hard pivots that we really did to stay 100% aligned with our mission. And when things were tough and we had to even make decisions as leaders, should we do this? Is this going to tire people out? We recognize we caught ourselves in the act. Okay. It's not about, is it tiring? We know it's tiring. This is about, is this the right thing to do? And does this keep us aligned with the mission of our school? So I just wanted to highlight that. And then one other thing I wanted to highlight that's probably not captured as well in the report is about the social emotional learning. So social emotional, I think, is a little bit buzzword right now, right? Especially in like all COVID stuff, there was a lot of concern about, hey, the mental health of kids and the mental health of people and what are we doing? I'm really proud to say that if you look at our mission statement, it's part of our mission. It's always been part of our mission because at the core of the organization, we built it into the charter. If you go back to the original charter application, the whole concept of principles of personal success and really building the child holistically, like the whole child, it's a core part of our organization. So it was already in place. Like, so it's not something that we've had to like do or amp up. We've been doing it. We feel so strongly. And I think that if we get to it in public comment and you're able to hear from some of the kids that we have with us, we have a couple of our former graduates that, you know, signed up for public comment. And I think it's nice to hear. I think that's what you'll hear. It's not just, hey, we graduated, we made it through school, you know, the school supported us, but the continued support that exists and stuff, and like how we supported people holistically. And it's not just our students. We really believe in supporting the whole school community. You don't show up in a role. I'm a teacher today. You're a human, right? And so we've really embraced as a mission of our school that we're doing the whole thing. It's the social emotional piece and the academics. And I think, you know, I'm frequently asked, how do you do it? Because some schools either focus on social emotional and they do a really good job of meeting the needs, the human needs of people and children. Other people really focus on academics. Our mission is that we do both. We believe deeply that it has to be both the academic piece, that you've got to have the academic. You can feel all good about yourself, but if you leave school with no skills, you've got a hard life in front of you, right? But we also recognize that so they need both. They need the academics, they need the social emotional. So I don't know that that's fully captured in the renewal report. So I wanted to highlight those few things this morning. Thank you. I'm good. I know you're shocked, right?
Yeah, but say if you still have time and you have someone from your school that wants to speak now instead of the public
Yeah.
comment time, take it now.
Awesome.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Hubbard. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for MAS. Joanne introduced me earlier. So this is my 7th charter renewal meeting. Most of them were in California, so pretty familiar with the process, but just wanted to say I super excited about being here and being allowed to do it in person. So I came to MAS from Albuquerque. I came to Albuquerque from Memphis, Tennessee, and I am originally from California, but I moved here to work with Joanne under this mission. Kip, also believes in empowering students all the way through college and making sure that they have a choice-filled life. But it was something about the passion that this lady brings to the mission that really inspired me. And the quickness that she responds to challenges really ensures that our students learn. So as of right now, and I don't know if I'll get to talk again, but as of right now, one of the things that we are doing is that because there were so many of our students who stayed home and were also impacted by the online learning, no matter how quickly we pivoted, there were students who missed out on like phonics development. I'll just use that as an example. And what we're doing right now is that we are regrouping, changing our complete schedule so that we can create small intervention groups so those students can not only get the academic requirements that they need, but have the extra time to get the small group support so that they can close those gaps that they actually were impacted by last year. So in that, it's a long process, right? We had to test the kids, we had to figure out what the gap was, and we've been working on it for about 3 weeks now. But the fact that we like saw the problem, immediately jumped on it, and have hired people to run those classes, and we have space for them, and the schedule has been redesigned. It wasn't about inconveniencing anyone. It was about doing what was right for kids. And that is the thing that makes me want to get up every morning and come to work, even when I know that my colleagues are at home because they didn't have to come to work because of COVID. And that is really inspiring. The other thing that I want to talk about for as far as MAS is that when we see that students are having challenges from the social emotional aspect, just like with the challenges that we saw with the academic performance, when children start picking up on things like TikTok challenges or starting to create fake MAS posts, right? Or anything of that nature. And we all have seen it. Like, this isn't new information. They were on social media for 18 months, every day, all day long. And so now that's what they're doing at school. We are addressing it during our social emotional time. We're taking time out to say, hey, this is not what we do. This is not what we're about. And look how it's impacting all of you. And let's talk about other things that we can do. We've even talked about starting a positive TikTok challenge. Tell someone you love them today. That's the challenge. And so these are things that we are really focusing on and addressing every day consistently to make sure that they do walk out of the door empathetic, socially informed, right? Like, they understand the norms and how to be socially intelligent in environments, no matter what they're faced with, and how to adjust so they're critical thinkers and problem solvers, but also so they can read and write proficiently. Thank you for this time, and I hope to get to speak to you again.
Okay, well, hold on. How many people do we have? So if people can't coordinate their ideas, the only thing that I can say is each person will only get barely a minute to speak. So, and we're going to have to stay hard fast to that because we've got 3 more today. I'd love to give you a half hour for public comment, but we can't. So if those are going to speak, we're timing it to a minute to accommodate 12, because 8 minutes is on the. And yeah, and take time and figure that out. I've got no problem.
Chair Gibson, do we need to acknowledge that some commissioners have joined?
Yes.
Andy, if you can hear, you can speak. You have 1 minute. Also, Commissioner Robbins and Commissioner Chavez have joined. Bruce, we are going to pull you into the panel. If you can unmute, go ahead and unmute and you'll have 1 minute to speak.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Bruce Stinworthy, President of Bohannon Houston, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. At the Chamber and for the engineering firm that I lead, education is a top priority. It literally shapes our community's future, and we work to improve our kids' access to high-quality options that will prepare them for life. MAS is a strong partner in this important work in our community. Their consistently high performance, as noted in this morning's discussion, and as measured by student proficiency and high graduation rates, is not only impressive, but critically important. We urge you to approve this charter renewal so that MAS and its team of passionate and committed educators can continue the work that strengthens our community now and for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go back to, is it Andy?
Is Andy on yet? You know, I thought I heard something, but wasn't it?
Hi, sorry. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, sorry. I think I'm via phone and I think I unmuted just one of them. But hi, I'm Andy. I'm a director at Charter School Grossman, who's a national funder of high quality
Okay,
charter
I'm
schools
sorry.
across the country.
Sorry, Andy, could you give us your last name for the record?
Sure, Hendy, H-E-N-D as in David, E-E.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, sorry. So I am a director at Charter School Grossman, who's a national funder of high quality charter schools across the country. We have a super high bar as far as getting into our portfolio, including doing deep diligence across academics, financials, governance, and overall strategic planning, including talent and things like that. And MAS is actually our largest investment in New Mexico. They're a top performer across academic achievement, across social emotional learning, and we honestly just have a ton of confidence in Joanne as a leader to both help students achieve within and beyond their K-12 experience. So it's really an honor to be a strong supporter of what they're doing for kids and families, and we're really excited for them to continue doing that work. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, next is Scarlett Lewis. If you could unmute, you'll have 1 minute.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you so much for giving me the honor of speaking on behalf of Joanne Mitchell. My name is Scarlett Lewis. I am the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. The namesake is my 6-year-old son, Jesse McCord Lewis, who was murdered at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. Following that, I decided to be part of the solution to the issues that our children face today, mostly their mental health and well-being, and created one of the most, if not the most comprehensive social and emotional learning program available. I did this 6 years ago and offered it. Joanne Mitchell was the first administrator to take this up as a school-wide effort. And that's very amazing because at the time, less than 10% of US schools were teaching social and emotional, is basically essential life skills in a way that it is effective. Joanne did it the right way. She brought it in a comprehensive fashion. She provided professional development to her staff. It became a school-wide initiative. This is still going strong 6 years later. I have traveled all across the country and world and have met with educators and administrators. I consider Joanne Mitchell to be the best, one of the most incredible leaders that I've seen. Our program now within the last 6 years is in over 10,000 schools across the country in every state and 112 countries. But Joanne Mitchell was the first to bring it in. And of course, what social and emotional learning does is
Sorry.
it creates.
But unfortunately, time is up. But I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next person is Christy Barker. If you can unmute, you have 1 minute to speak.
My name is Christy Barker, and I've started with MAS in 2012 all the way till I graduated. And whenever I came to the school, I faced my own difficulties myself, and they helped me with my challenges in school and outside of school. And whenever I graduated, I had difficulties still outside of school with my mother passing, and the whole team of MAS, they reached out to me, and Miss Mitchell, she offered me a job here at MAS, and I've been part of their family for 10 years and still going. I just want to say that she is an amazing person. MAS has helped me grow tremendously in life and educational, and they offer way more than just education. And that's
Thank
all I
you so
wanted to
much.
say.
Are the rest of these in person now? All right, so the microphone's going to be right here, and the next person is going to be Cassidy Hankstrom. I have to turn it on for them. Yeah. Say your name, honey, and what grade you're in.
So I am Cassidy Hoekstrom. I am in 4th grade. And I just wanted to say that I love MAS. Their staff is so nice and respectful. Some kids, they might try to distract their classmates, but the teachers are always handling it, and they are so reliable when it comes to education and keeping their students safe. They really helped me learn more, and I really feel secure in the classroom because I know that no matter what happens there, the teachers will always be there to keep us safe.
Thank you. I always say that's so unfair when, and then you get that little high pitched voice. It's like,
All right, the next is Divinity Lovato.
Hello, my name is Divinity, and I'm in 3rd grade.
I'm so sorry. She got nervous. You okay, Mama? All right, the next speaker is Tyler Lujan.
My name is Tyler, and I'm in 3rd grade, and I like about MAS is math because it keeps me from distracted from other students, and the teachers are really nice, and whatever happens, they keep me safe.
Hello, my name is Jason Ponce. When I started MAS, I was in 7th grade, and I came there because I was having trouble with behavior issues. But ever since I started with MAS, I've noticed that it's more like a deeper connection with students and like the environment. I just feel like, I don't know, like in APS school, teachers are more there for, I don't know, maybe like a paycheck, as to at MAS, they're more there to, there for kids to actually do their job and support the, I don't know, I just think MAS is a really good school, and Ms. Mitchell's doing a great job. Thank you.
You have one more person. You have 50 seconds.
Hi, my name is Christy Reale. Like Ms. Mitchell said, I started at a traditional school where a lot of the focus was on having the best students, highest test scores, and all those things. And that created a division amongst the team. At MAS, we run elementary through the middle school model. So each teacher has a content area. So that means that all students are your students. And it really fosters a collaborative environment amongst teachers, because we all have buy-in, because all students are our students. It's a fully inclusive model, so that also includes students with special needs. And we also have instructional coaches who help us. We meet with those instructional coaches 2 to 3 times weekly. And so even the students are also learning, but teachers are also learning daily as well. Like Ms. Mitchell said, I'm now the assistant principal, where my goal is to foster a safe and effective learning environment for students and for teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thanks for that. And thanks for not starting on a purely data-driven presentation, because if you know Joanne and she starts talking data, it's her passion far exceeds, and we'd still be here listening to it. But it shows your passion, no doubt, for the school. And we know your numbers, and there are a few people that live and breathe the mission, as we've seen, like you do, and the school embraces that. I just have one going forward question. That partnership that you have with, and I'm sorry, I had it here, Achievement First. Is that going to be, now that we're going short cycle, do you have to change anything, or has PED agreed that you can still continue that short cycle?
Yeah, for the most part, what we're understanding is that for the most part, what we understand is that we can continue with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did have a conversation about that, because we were concerned, like that would be a hard pivot to
Right.
do because the way that the achievement test works, and I won't get on the data too much, but is that it's aligned to the curriculum. So the short cycles that are used, or the interim assessments, they're based on all the standards that the state's using it. And we haven't found that for us to be as effective, because you'll assess kids and you haven't taught that yet. So sometimes when you drill into the data, you're like, oh, they scored low on the statistics part because we haven't even taught statistics yet, right? So we don't feel like it's as useful, the data. And that's why we were really concerned about having to make that pivot, because ours assesses what we taught that quarter. So you really get to gauge, how did we teach? Did we do well? And it felt to us very redundant to have to give another test just for the sake of giving it. So from our understanding right now, we're good without having to make that
Okay.
pivot.
Yeah, because that was my only concern, that that would be a big loss. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm glad. Do you still do the dental visits?
We do actually. It's
Okay.
crazy you ask, because I
'Cause
literally,
I didn't see that in there. So wait a minute, they do dental
Uh-huh.
visits.
yeah, I was on the phone with her yesterday on my way home, setting up the January dental clinic. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's certainly a great service to the community. So I wanted to get that on the record if you were
Thank you.
still doing it. Okay, thanks. Commissioner Voigt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for everyone turning out from the Moss community to represent and speak up for your school. It's great to see you this morning. So I just want to say that, having visited the school, it's really apparent that the passion lies in your community for your school, and it's evidenced by your growth and by what you're doing with your research and how you're able to bring that into what works for your school and not just doing a blanket fix. So being able to have those choices and what you're researching, which is great, that you read and you look and you see what's out there that's working, and that you're bringing it into your community and working it really well. The fact that also you have students employed at your school after they graduate speaks volumes to the, not just the SEL piece, but for the stakeholdership of your community. So that's wonderful that students want to come back to your school and that you are able to pay them and become part of that greater Moss community. The aspect of your school that lies within your mission of serving marginalized students and communities is just tremendous. And I can see it in your hallways. I see it in the kids now. It's wonderful. The work that you're doing is incredible. So thank you and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Oh, Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning.
Morning.
So I've had a chance to visit MAS before, not in this role, but previously. And so I definitely, when I hear Commissioner Voigt talking about what it's like to be there and what you can see when you walk through the hallways, I mean, it's absolutely true and very apparent. Sometimes I think I develop like crushes on schools, like the culture of the school, the demeanor of the school, and it's infectious, right? Like how it's no surprise you have national groups that are looking at you because it's important. It's important work. And I think it's especially important work because there is a false dichotomy of you have to be one or the other. That if you focus on academics, that you're neglecting the heart of the student, right? And so I love that it's a great example that is a false dichotomy. That by taking care of students' academic needs and their social emotional needs, you're probably setting up more for success than if you did one or the other alone, right? I was really touched when you talked about your story growing up and how education was really your way out, your way, that it kind of saved you, brought you into a different space. I relate to that heavily. I was actually we carpooled this morning and I was telling him I grew up with a single mom who we were homeless for a lot of my childhood. And in her 40s, she was like, I can't do this. I'm going to go to college. And so I feel so fortunate that I was able to see my mother as an elementary kid go to college. And that brought us from homelessness to her being a homeowner, right? So it is a way to move yourself from where you're at into the next space of your life. And I'm so grateful for my mom for having done that. And it's such an important piece because I don't think until you have that example, you don't know. I mean, you just don't know. It's not just a given pathway for you to know. So having leaders in your school who believe that this is the way to change our community, it's a really important piece. Additionally, to show that it can be done, right? We hear way too often that, oh, well, these are all the struggles. These are the problems of why it's keeping us down. And your school shows that, they're not problems, we got to work harder, but they're not problems. And these students, I mean, I thank all the time that my teachers didn't see me as a homeless child and didn't set a lower bar for me because I was homeless growing up. And so I think it's an important part to take care of both. And so I can't wait to see the next 5 years of what MAS will continue to do in the community. I worry a lot when you replicate and you get bigger, that maybe you lose some of that. It kind of spreads a little too thin and it can go awry. So to see that you have a replicated campus and that mission is carrying forward in another space. It's really a testament to how deep the mission is. And so I'm so grateful that you're here in New Mexico. I'm so grateful you serve students in Albuquerque and the surrounding areas. It's a much needed area. And I'm just so enthusiastically supportive of you continuing your mission for years to come.
Thank you.
And she's wearing your colors.
I saw. Yes.
Commissioner Armijo.
Thank you. I'm going to join the other commissioners who had the opportunity to visit MAS. Both schools was located in my district and the one on Yale. And to be completely honest, it was a whirlwind tour and I wasn't 100% sure what the social emotional piece to the school was, but learning about it now, I'm better understanding of it. And I'm really, really appreciative of it. Because that is a big piece of the areas that you are serving. I'm sure you have plenty of students that come from all over, but the specific areas where you are located is, that's a huge thing. So I also am in support of you all, and I'm touched by all the positivity here, and I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carrillo.
Here we go. It's funny, I was looking to unmute myself because I'm so used to being, online for all of this. Super impressed and can't wait to go visit. So I'm from up here. All of my schools are here in Santa Fe, north to the Colorado border. And, but I do want to get south and, I was very impressed with the schools yesterday and it just, I don't make it down there much ever, but Albuquerque I can come to. So
It
a
was
couple things.
71 yesterday in
The what?
Las Cruces.
What'd you say?
It was 71 in Las Cruces yesterday. So you
Híjole,
missed
no,
it.
I like winter. I'm a winter person. Ay. So let's see. Arts. How is arts integrated into the curriculum and everything you do at school?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's not very well, I'll be honest with you. Like, and we've tried over the years, over 10 years, we've done different things. Where we've struggled with art, like literally art classes, is truly finding people. And then when we find people and they don't stay, then you have chaos. And then you have like a long-term sub in an art class, which there could not be a worse place to put us up. Maybe PE would rank up there. Like,
Yeah.
but so we've struggled. So what we've tried to do is we have a pretty robust after school program. It's in our thing. We do before and after school program. And we've tried to integrate all those types of things, like the extra things after school. We value it. We value music. We value art. We've struggled to try to find it. So where we've brought like the arts, not art necessarily, but we work with NDI. We have a partnership with them and so we found more success in bringing outside organizations in because they can sustain, like it's easier to pay services to come into the school than it is to like try to hire teachers to do it. So some of that, like the challenges with that are, one, finding the funding in the organizations, right? That's the biggest challenge. And so what we've also done, like I said, is tried to incorporate that stuff after school so that there's opportunities. Because the other thing is it's harder, I think, challenging in charter schools where in a larger public school where, let's say high school, for example, you get lots of elective choice. So as a student, if you don't like the arts, you can pick whatever elective. But when you're a smaller charter school, I mean, we're big, but we're not big because there's just a lot of grades served, right? So it's hard. The other challenge we found is that when we box kids in that all sixth graders are taking art, that's not overly effective either. So right now, the way that we're trying to like navigate that, because we do hear this feedback from kids, hey, I'd like more of that, right? And so what we've tried to do is, again, bring outside resources in through after school programming and day programming, like NDI, like the National Dance Institute, they do it during the daytime with our 4th and 5th graders.
NDI is fantastic. And they're in a lot of schools in Santa Fe, and it's just been a boon to those classrooms and teachers and kids.
Yeah.
And when you go to their performances, it's
amazing.
It's why we all want to work with, it's just the joy is phenomenal. It was just something to consider in terms of teachers even getting professional development I completely understand finding an art teacher. I wasn't a long-term sub once, but I was a sub for an art class at a middle school level. That was hellacious. It really was. The middle school, but it was just so I can understand the challenge in finding staff. But even kind of integrated into lesson plans, whether it's history or science or whatever, drawing, acting out something, whatever. Curious as to what your demographic is, and it's probably in all of this. What's the school's demographic?
Yeah, great question. So we are about, so free and reduced lunch, we're a CEP school. So if you look on like the websites, it'll say 100%, but true free and reduced lunch, we're 85 to 90%, both campuses. And the percentages of difference between the two campuses are insignificant. It's 1% higher here, 1% higher, lower there, whatever. We're 90% minority. We have about 23% students with disabilities. We're about 30% English language learners. And did I hit them all? Yes. So 50% of our kids will be first generation high school graduates. So we've graduated 4 classes, and we collect this data at time of enrollment just for statistical purposes, right? So 50% of our kids school-wide are first generation high school graduates. And then over 90% of our kids are first generation college will be first generation college graduates.
So, I mean, I love hearing this. And the reason I love hearing this is because I get so tired of hearing people think that, oh, charters are elite this and elite that. And it's like, no, nothing could be further from the truth. They're serving the same population everybody else is. They're doing it differently and having success. So, hey, maybe we should learn from them. As Commissioner Burt said, I think it was Commissioner Burt, just the whole notion of using, you use the word problem, right? And I like to use the word challenge. And there's lots of challenges to overcome, but you have to decide whether or not you want to face the challenges. And if you don't, then get out of public ed.
Right.
You know, leave us all alone. You're doing us more harm. That's my kind of philosophy on that. Very impressed, not only with your presentation, but when you said how foundationally, when you have great leaders in a school, and especially at a level where you've got 2 large campuses, you're going to end up growing great teachers. In another life, if I ever have one to live, I want to be a high school principal. Because I just wish I'd thought of that like when I was in my 30s. Just to kind of be that person, inspiring other teachers to do their best and inspiring kids. So really like the fact that you touched on that. In this, I was looking in the section B here, and when I was reading it over the last couple of days, then I brought it back up again. The piece where you do a lot of, here we go, is on the teaching methods, do a lot of training and classroom discussions. We train students to face the class when speaking, speak loud and proud. It's just, you know, and then just even in the rest of this text, it's just all around pushing kids to be the best that they can be and that they know they can be if someone pushes them to be that, right?
Absolutely.
So just very impressed and can't wait to visit sometime soon. Further down, I noticed parenting classes. And one of the things I love about charters often, we didn't find it as much yesterday, but parental involvement, because the very nature of a charter is parents are going to be involved, right? Because they've got to send their kid there. There's all these things they got to do. I like the fact that you're teaching parents how to be their kids' best learners and giving them the support that they need. I mean, obviously, I'm supporting Renewal. And the last thing I'll say, and I don't know if Jessica Pollard, she writes for the New Mexican and she covers education. I don't know if she's in the panel or on the attendees listening. The thing that disappoints me the most, I was 9 years on Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education, is, and this isn't to say that all the people that had served on the board during these years were like this, but there's such an incredible lack of innovation and desire to go out there, find what works and bring it back. And because one school has 1,100, you know, both of our comprehensive high schools now have around 1,400 kids. That's a really manageable number. It's not an inner city high school with 4,000 kids, right? You can pilot things, you can do amazing work. And it just always makes me crazy that in so many public school districts, they're not willing to think outside the box. They're stuck in 1980 and their staffs are, the union is, there's all these reasons why not, instead of all of the reasons why we have to. And I mean, I would just love, I mean, Larry's a great friend, the superintendent of schools here. And when we have lunch next, I just want to say, let's just turn Santa Fe High School into a MOS school. I mean, you don't have to make it a charter, but for God's sakes, pay attention to what works.
Right.
and let's quit using all the excuses of poverty and everything else. So anyway, I'm super impressed. And, the kids are very, very fortunate to have you in that community doing this work. And thank you all of you who came to the meeting today.
Commissioner Robbins and then Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you. Joanne and I had several meetings. We've talked on the phone. I'm a big supporter of this school, and not just because of the way they interact with the students and the students like the school, but because of the results. And I think that's really what we need to look at. Commissioner Carrillo talked about replicating this. I don't know why more Albuquerque public schools don't come and look at what MAS is doing to try to replicate that in theirs. They have the model that works. One of the things that I think is missing in the large districts is the commitment from their teachers and the administration to support the teachers in doing what's right for the students. Like Commissioner Carrillo said, sometimes they get so hung up in what they've done that they have to continue that, and they don't want to change, and they don't want to, actually bring in new and innovative things, and not just for the sake of change, but because they've been demonstrated to work and work well. I'm very impressed with the graduation, with the reading and science proficiency and math proficiency of your students. This is, you start looking at the data, and I know, Joanne, you could go on with data lots and lots. One thing I have to ask is on your audit finding. Can you just explain, that, because that's one of my big areas of concern when we're dealing with, millions of dollars of public funds to make sure, was it a glitch? What processes are you putting in place to kind of avoid that going forward?
Yeah, great question. So don't completely, you can quote me because obviously you're recording this, but I might be slightly off, but my understanding of it is, so we've worked with the V-Hill Group as an external auditor, and as a charter, I much prefer it that way. It allows really good checks and balance. They've been phenomenal, to work with. And it was literally just a glitch in I don't know, closing out the year and starting the new year, and something on the books that didn't get recorded in the current year and needed to, something like that. And I know I'm not doing a very good job. I'm not the business manager, but I work very, very closely with her. It was small, it was, but we always make sure that when there is something, that we always really kind of drill down to what was it? I mean, our audits have been really clean over 10 years, right? There's the odd thing. And a lot of times Michael V-Hill, the owner of the group, he'll say to me, Joanne, it's kind of the purpose of the audit. They'll find something, that's what they're supposed to do. And I, like you, I'm well, I'd prefer they be clean, completely clean with nothing. So yeah. So I don't know that I was overly articulate, and I didn't have them join this call. I didn't know that I would need them, but I can assure you that whatever it was, we did look at, and it was definitely on their end. It was just like a record keeping type piece.
Oh, and that's fine. That's fine. I've told auditors that I've dealt with in the past and agencies, if an auditor doesn't find something, and
right,
I hope there's nothing significant, nothing material, and hopefully we don't have repeat findings year after year after year, but auditors should find something, because I look at auditors as consultants to help schools improve fiscally. And so don't take my question about the audit finding as a criticism, because I think when there's nothing, I start wondering, well, how thorough was the audit?
Right.
Because as you can see, if we dug down into anything, you can always find something that can be done better. But I really wish, we could do a better job. And I say I'm talking about the charter community, of engaging with the district schools, where they would start replicating more of what our high performing charters are doing. We have a lot of low performing charters that deal with a lot of unique situations. MAS in a large metropolitan area is unique. You're not shooting for those high performing students like some of our charters do, and I don't think they intentionally go after them, but the curriculum tends to go after them. You take the students where they're at and you move them up to very high success. That's the difference between, in my mind, between a good school and a great school. So congratulations, you have my support, and I just wish the best for you, your staff, and your students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chavez? And then Commissioner Taylor.
Good morning. I just want to, first of all, I just want to apologize for coming in late into your presentation, Ms. Mitchell. But I did come in right at the time when you were talking about John Hattie. And holy cow, I was a little disappointed to hear that that it's boring reading. Because I find it,
person. I like it.
well, I find it fascinating, and I'm always referring to John Hattie and the work that's in there. But I do want to say I do want to echo what Commissioner Carrillo has said about just the innovation and always looking to see what's happening, and I just want to kind of piggyback on Commissioner Robbins. But I do want to warn people and about just replication of programs, because going back to John Hattie, John Hattie is like what I understood is like he's like Marzano's work on steroids, right? And so going back to Marzano, I had the opportunity to listen to Marzano one year, and it was about the time that he came out with his 10 high yield strategies. Do you remember that? And so anyways, he came out with these high yield strategies, right? And kind of like Hattie's work, right? They did all the research, did all the meta-analysis, and determined what strategies were the most effective. And I listened to Marzano one year at a conference, and he said something to the effect that he had regrets that he had put that out there like that, because what happened was a lot of educators, administrators, just what they did is they said, oh, hey, here's the panacea. If we just implement these 10 strategies and we can replicate this, then we'll be successful. And what we found, and what what everybody found out is it's not that simple. You can't just say, okay, these are high yield strategies. If we just implement them, we'll be successful. It goes beyond that. And so what I'd like to say is that, number one, I appreciate that you're looking at John Hattie's work. Because I do believe that there's something to be learned from that. But the success of a school, it goes beyond just implementing the research and replicating that piece. It goes way beyond that. And it's very evident that your leadership, that you've done that. You've gone beyond just looking at the research. But I recently heard, in fact, as driving to work today, I like listening to John Maxwell's leadership series podcast. And today he was talking about vision. And he was talking about vision and visions are like dreams, right? This is what you dream. And but he also said that achieving the dream is only dependent on the team.
That's right.
So if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right team, you're not going to achieve the dream. And so I just want to say just bravo to you for being the leader, but I also want to recognize that it goes beyond just the leader. It's also the team, and it's the culture, and more importantly, if you look at Daggett's work, he said relationships, whether it's school culture, and Bambrick's book also, if you're looking at student culture and school culture, student and school culture, staff culture, that's really the most important thing. That lays the foundation for anything else that you lay on top of it and determines the success of a school. And so bravo to you and your team for taking that pathway of more than just replication of the research and what research says. And I just want to applaud you also on NDI. I've seen that work, and just amazing work. And I'm glad to hear that you've implemented into your curriculum. So bravo to you, bravo to your team. Keep up the good work. Keep it going. Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Mitchell. I just want you to know that first of all, I'll start off with the fact that I'm very much in support of renewing your contract with no reservation at all. I want to sort of echo what Commissioner Chavez was saying about having the correct and appropriate team in place for the success that you guys are experiencing. But I also want to reiterate that team is in place because of the enthusiasm and the desire and drive that you have for excellence in education. So after the number of years that you've been the head of this school, still exhibit an incredible amount of enthusiasm to excel. So thank you for that. I appreciate that very, very much and what you're doing. I don't think there's anything that except being impressed with the academics that you've produced through your programs, your graduation rate. I think those things are fantastic. As Commissioner Robbins was saying earlier, you're not targeting the highest quality, the most brilliant students on the planet, although you may have some of those people there and you may be creating some of those people. But the mission is creating that environment and producing a group of successful young people that have a desire to go on and have done a good job. So thank you again for that. I love that you guys provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love that you guys do that. I love that you provide uniforms and school supplies so the kids don't have to worry about those things. Those things are fantastic. I've always been a big proponent of, I might get in trouble for this, but big proponent of no homework, because I love that you teach at school, you allow people to learn at school, and then you send them home to be with their families so that they can make that separation and grow strong with their families as well. So great work. Totally impressed. Thank you for what you do, you and your team.
Thank you.
Thanks. Joanne, I just had
Sure.
one question. I think in the report, it said 90% of your staff is on some visa program.
No, so 46.
I was a little confused with that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So one of our biggest challenges as we've grown, right? And just in general, I think that there's a national shortage of teachers right now, right? But as a charter and growing charter, and we have a significantly longer day than the traditional schools. Like, to put in perspective, I'll be careful on my data, but I've got to share it. Like, one of the things that we've been really pushing in legislation is that there's a shift on the K-5 plus program, because the state requires, I think it's 990 instructional hours for K-6. We provide, I think it's 1,350 hours, 47 hours, something like that. I mean, we are far over. If you add the extra 25 days times the 5.5 required hours, that's 137.5 hours. I'm not that brilliant. I just have done this so many times and said this so many times so don't think that I can just compute numbers in my head. That's not really what's happening. So our day is significantly longer, and it's hard, like, because teachers, and they don't make that much more. It's a couple $1,000s more, because when people say, well, you have autonomy on how you use your money, I'm like, is it kind of, but like, you can't just, jack up your salary schedule, because you still get the same per pupil. So despite offering a longer day, more days, I don't get more money for that. So for me to staff more people, there's only so much money. So it's only a couple $1,000s. We pay kind of the extra days, because they also do 15. So we have 182 school days. Most schools are 180, but then our teachers have 197-day contract, because 15 days are full professional development. So you start doing all the math on that, like, they're not making much. So it's taxing. It's really hard to find and keep people. And, some folks, it just doesn't work out. It's too structured. It's not the right fit. And fit, you both mentioned culture. We're huge on that. I mean, I push and push this, not just student culture, staff culture. And when we talk about leverage leadership, that's a leadership Bible for us, absolute leadership Bible. And my team can tell you top 2 levers are data and culture. They know, like, I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? So anyhow, back to the thing though, it's a challenge for teachers. So one of the things that we did to be out of the box, because up until this past school year, 90% of our teachers were alternative licensure teachers. So they don't have a traditional teaching license. They got they have a bachelor's in psychology, economics, whatever. And we kind of rah how great education is, right? We're like, go on and do it, and then we throw them in with the middle school class. Yep. And they're like, what? So we've learned and try to break them in gently and put them in a co-teaching role in elementary, right? So that there's less chance of losing them. But that was a huge issue. Like, the alternative license is it's been a challenge because in the research, and I documented it in my report, 50% of people who enter an alternative teaching leave out, like first year, they're gone. And so it's been a challenge for us because 90% of our staff were alternative licenses and then they just keep bouncing. And so it's very hard for my leaders to coach folks up and then they leave. And we do get some who stay and they're rock stars. So one of the things that we did a little out of the box, talking about being innovative and figuring out a new solution, is we started hiring J1 and H1B visa teachers. So the J1s are like foreign exchange students. They're like visitor teachers. But the H1Bs are where we've consulted with a couple like very big law firms in large cities that do this on a regular basis. And we've got a law firm out of New York City we work with, one out of Denver and one out of Atlanta. And we've been working with them and hiring teachers from other countries. But the thing that's worked well with the J1s and the H1Bs is they're licensed teachers. Now, other countries, but they knew they wanted to teach, right? So right now our staff composition is 46% H1B or J1 teachers and 46% alternative, which leaves us 8% of our teaching staff are traditionally licensed. There's absolute challenges. I'll tell you, there's challenges. And one of the things, but I think that this has probably been one of our most successful years. And I think that that balance will result in less turnover for us because the H1B folks, their goal is to stay here long-term, right? The J1s have to go back based on the visa program, which is why we started to shift to the H1B. I've learned more about immigration and immigration law than I ever thought or wanted to know, but like but it's been a real solution for us. And the folks we have with us are very, very committed, very hardworking, very passionate about our mission and stuff. And we've been very selective about who we bring into the school community because it makes a huge difference. Both of you mentioned about the team and the culture, and we know that that's critical. It doesn't matter the organization you're in, but like it's a killer in schools and stuff if you don't have the right team and the right culture. So we really work hard on that, both on the student and on the staff end.
So do you have to help in arrangement for housing and things like that? Or is that done by the law firm?
Yeah. It's done by if they're J1, it's done by the agency. Now we definitely support them. We get emails out to our staff and the community, and we help them in all ways that we can and stuff. But as far as actually paying for it, they pay for those things. Yeah.
I'm assuming there's a fee.
Well,
do you have to pay a fee? To
yes,
the
we
law
do.
firm?
Yeah. So with the J1, and again, we've learned and some of you might have seen in the paper, there was some stuff about, some of the J1 agencies. So that happened as we were starting this process. So we were very intentional. We didn't know anything about that. We were very intentional of making sure we talked to the agencies to make sure that we weren't complicit in something that wasn't feeling right. So we did that. And on the H1B, we do pay a fee for it, but the fee that we're paying for it and stuff, it's so well worth it, especially if we can keep folks. And they're true teachers. They're folks who have already decided that career-wise, they want to teach. I think the biggest challenge we're finding is some of that cultural difference of just, for many of them in their countries, education is valued a lot differently than it is here, especially working in an inner city school. So we're doing things to kind of mitigate that and do a better job of providing some upfront training when they arrive on some of that management stuff that we know is crucial. And then we've also learned some lessons about placement of where they're more successful. Some of our teachers on visas and stuff where they're experiencing more success. And then obviously working really closely with our leadership and the coaching plan so that they have those immense supports. Because I'd imagine it's challenging for them. I know they're grateful for the opportunity, but it's a new country, it's a new school, it's a new culture. Like there's so many things that they're having to acclimate to that we're trying to learn those lessons and figure out how do we make this a better experience from day one for them.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
There's a couple of hands up.
Oh, I see it now. Commissioner Chavez and then Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. Holy cow, the more that you talk, the more that I'm impressed. And, you know, you hit on something that a lot of people don't understand. And that's this a thing that's called the teacher shortage, right? And so a couple of things. I appreciate that you have 15 days of professional development because there's a lot of school districts that have turned to alternative licensed teachers. And those teachers need lots of help. And you're absolutely right, about 50% stay and 50% leave. The key is to make sure that they have that training. I mean, you're talking people with degrees in other areas. We throw them into a classroom and they don't have that training in classroom management and structures within how to deal with kids and all those pieces that are really, really, it takes time to learn. And so I appreciate that you have so much time. I do have a question on your instructional day. How many, like, what kind of work day do your teachers work?
Right. So we have more than the 15 days because so our teacher work day is 7:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. 7:30 till about 8:15 is professional development every day, 182 days out of the year, in addition to those 15 days. So, and that's where we do, it's curriculum coaching, it's management coaching, it's whatever we see the need. Like again, it's culture, right? Like you see when you're consistently doing walkthroughs and you're in classrooms, like where the gaps are. So the teaching day goes from 8:20 until technically 4:20. They have 190-minute prep. And that's every teacher, kindergarten all the way through high school. They get a 190-minute prep a day. So they teach for approximately, my math person, Josh, always corrects me. He's like, it's 84 minutes. And so, but so it's like, but I always like kind of round up and say like it's 90. And so about a 90-minute period, they teach 4 periods and then 1 prep. Most of our classrooms, K to 4 are co-taught. There's 2 teachers. And I'd say it's almost all classrooms K to 6. And we have a second teacher in the room in as many classes as we can. And it's real intentional that there is identical instruction, but that person is working with the kids who are struggling the most so that they get the side-by-side hip support. And we kind of have a rule like, that they can't even get up from that table because those kids need intensive support. And so it's less remediation and and that's how because I think where you get stuck in schools is that when you go back and you're constantly remediating, you don't ever get them caught up because you're always working behind. So we've got to find a way to close those gaps while getting them caught up. So we do remediation. There are a couple classes where we do that, but we have in the classroom, that's what that co-teacher does, is work with those kids who are struggling the most. And that professional development, it's training on all that stuff. It's training. What does it look like? How do you track data? How do you monitor data? It's not enough just to deliver the instruction. How do we do it? And the additional piece of the instructional, professional development is that our coaches meet with teachers, and Ms. Brielli kind of addressed this a little bit, is that our coaches have meetings with the teachers one-to-one at least twice a week. And they're looking at lesson plans, they're looking at data, but it's not a compliance, did you write the lesson plan? The lesson plans are really done. It's more about internalizing that plan and then figuring out where the gaps were in delivery based on what we're seeing. We videotape classrooms and watch the video recordings and stuff to figure out gaps. I mean, so it is a very robust plan, which contributes. People either fall in love with the model as a teacher and they're like, this is incredible. Or sometimes people are like, that's too much. I'm not doing that. Like that's too much hands-on, but that's where we get the results. It's not just a good curriculum, right? It's the delivery of the curriculum and the intentionality around all facets of that.
So I just got to ask, are you a huge fan of Bambrick's and Toyle's work?
Oh my, there are Bibles. Like they are our Bibles. You can't be on our leadership team without reading them. And we started a leadership institute. We start next week. We have 55 staff members signed up right now. And it's to groom for future leaders. And it's exactly what one of you had said is that, hey, if you have good leaders, you've got good teachers. And our thought is if we're grooming internally, they're day one ready for the job. And then on top of that, while they're grooming for the leadership role, they're going to become great teachers. And the first book they all have to read is Leverage Leadership. It's the first book of the book study. They're all sitting in my office right now, waiting for distribution for next week's meeting. So yeah, all of his work. Our leadership team attends the relay trainings. I don't know if you've heard of those, like through his work. So we go to the relay trainings, and that's where they teach all of his work, like the leverage leadership, the, driven by data, the, what's the other one?
Get better, faster.
All that, the TLAC, it's now 3.0. Like, so we train on all that, but we send our leaders to that relay graduate leadership academy, which essentially is all of that work. And we also, one of the other things we did, a couple of you have mentioned, like, the replication with intentionality. We've visited like the highest performing schools around the country. We see KIPP, we see Uncommon, we've seen Achievement First, we've seen Idea Charter Schools, and we are very careful. Sometimes I've taken even some of my real high performing teachers and like, ooh, Joanne, we want to do X. And I have to remind them, just because they're doing that, it doesn't necessarily fit into our school and our community. It doesn't fit into the way we do it. It's not about not being open-minded to shifting, but it's about being intentional with what you take and replicate and really making it mix. So I completely relate to what you both were saying about the replication pieces and being strategic about that.
Yeah. I just want to end by asking or just recognizing going back to the teacher shortage and using J1 and H1 teachers. And you're absolutely right. These are teachers. These are qualified teachers. These are people with teaching degrees in other countries. But, I don't know that we're doing enough to look at that. And I know a couple of years back, there was a big movement working with the state of Sonora in Mexico and trying to get teachers over here. And of course, everything changed once the administration changed. But I was a little disappointed in that. When I was working in Deming Public Schools, I used to bring in a lot of H1 and B1 and J1 teachers for our bilingual programs. And it was such a great program because you're right. These are qualified teachers, and the culture thing is a little bit different, and you have to teach them, the differences in culture, not just in culture, but also in language, because what we found is, sometimes language is, could be misinterpreted. What's appropriate,
Right.
back where they're from may not be appropriate here.
Right.
But, just kind of thinking outside the box, I just commend you for doing that and going out and looking for teachers, it's easy to just fall back and say, well, there's this teacher shortage, but you're actually being proactive. And so you're going out and looking for them either through alternative license, through different visas, and growing your own. I appreciate that also. So very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Taylor, did you take your hand? Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. The opening segment to the news down by me the other night was, if you want to make $64,000 a year and not have to work during the summer, go teach in New Mexico. And it's like, holy, it's like, and that's the whole take out of the pay increase that's being suggested. It's like, oh, you can just get the whole summer off, and that's the problem with the alternative licensure, as you know.
Right.
It attracts people who think this is just going to be cake. And you can know your stuff, but getting into a classroom with, I'd be a headline if I was in the middle school. I know that for sure, So I knew high school was where I needed to be, but yeah, so thanks for everything.
Of course.
Everybody? We're ready for a motion. I just want to state before I make the motion that PE is not the best place to put a long-term
Right.
sub.
Right? I know.
Talk about an accident waiting to happen.
Mhm.
Plus, it diminishes the value of
That's
physical
right.
activity for kids.
And the nurses'
and to
reports go
staff.
up those
So
days.
that's not just for you, it's for everybody in the room, okay? Everyone hear that? So I'd like to move that the Public Education Commission renew Mission Achievement Success Charter School for a period of 5 years from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2027.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Voigt and a second by Commissioner Chavez. If there's no further discussion.
Well, I had a question.
Oh, I'm
also.
sorry.
No, thank you for making the motion. We all jumped at seconding. I don't know if you kind of saw
Thank you.
that. I just had a question. And I'm glad this conversation around retention, the J1 and HB1 visas, all this came up, because I'd certainly like to see a lot more of that rather than alternative licensure, because, you know, I liken it to whose jet do you want to fly on? The guy that only had 100 hours of instruction or 10,000 hours of instruction? You know, it's like, no, I don't want my kid in that classroom. Anyway, do you do any 360-degree evaluations or climate and culture surveys at the school?
Yeah, great question. So not so much the 360, but yes, we do. We assess for culture. In fact, one of the things that we just did, we do them in different ways. We haven't found like the perfect way to do it, but Ms. Reale literally just finished meeting. So our assistant principals meet with every teacher every quarter to kind of get a pulse. How you doing? What's working? What's not working? So we do it that way. And then we also survey the staff, and we do it through staff meetings. One of the things that we ask for though is we test, if you will. It doesn't like count where you fail and you lose your job type thing, right? But we test on what's the mission? What are our core values? Like we assess for things. Where do you feel support? Where do you need, like, where do you feel like you need support? Because we find that a lot of times, like the unhappiness comes from gaps that can be fixed many times, right? So we try to assess for that. And then in certain things you can't fix, like that's just a culture mismatch, and you don't, this is probably not the best place for you. That's why we don't sweat completely turnover. We just try to do a better job on the hiring and the intake part of bringing folks in who are invested, because we find it's less about trying to get you to believe kids can learn, get you to believe that we're going to believe in all kids. And it's more about hiring right to begin with, but then creating the culture and stuff along the way that supports people, provides them what they need, cleans the communication gap. So we do it in different ways. I can't say we found the perfect way to do it, but it is one of our priorities.
Great. So a robust onboarding program. No,
Absolutely.
that sounds terrific. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Burt.
Commissioner Armijo,
Yes.
Commissioner Carrillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Manus,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Voigt,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes, yes, yes.
and Commissioner Burr, an enthusiastic yes.
Thank you.